I am guessing you leave home almost every day for work, for school, and other engagements, and then you come back home for that night of pleasant rest. But would you like to know what it takes to make transportation possible for you?
Should I say something, Kate?
Go ahead.
You know, to make transportation possible, you need good roads, linking all the good roads, forming a network of one's destination.
Yeah.
One also need roadworthy vehicle to safely convey one to wherever one is going. And you also need traffic laws to regulate road behaviors so that road users will not only abide by them, but also prevent chaos on the road.
You also need to maintain these structures put in place for them to remain useful.
Exactly.
Decade after decade without falling apart. With an estimated population of over 20 million, the need to move around will generate more income from millions of users of public transport in Lagos State, which is why we need ingenious financial management to keep the system up, running, and of good service to you.
And to achieve all of this, you need sound professionals trained to understand the city and its transportation needs to formulate a plan that works for everyone. That's what we are looking at today on the show, raising professionals to meet the growing transportation challenges in a mega city like Lagos.
I am Kate Harmony.
I am Obafemi Craig. First, we'll take the news update. This is the news update on Lamata FR, and we thank you for staying with us. Drivers' behavior and attitude are the major contributors to traffic congestion and other difficulties experienced on our roads. The Managing Director of Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, Lamata, Dr. Dayo Moberiola, made this point in Lagos at the weekend while speaking on good road use etiquette and its impact on traffic management in the state. According to Dr. Moberiola, drivers in the state contribute more to the difficulties and other chaos experienced on Lagos roads by their attitude and behavior while driving. He noted that most drivers exhibit lots of impatience and lack of respect for other road users while on the road. He said such behaviors are known to easily cause chaos and congestion, especially at areas with junctions and less traffic management facilities. He said that while the state government will continue to do its best in upgrading the existing road infrastructure and implement new transport projects, the public owes it a responsibility to imbibe good road use etiquette while using the existing infrastructure for optimum benefit. The dream of a truly classic bus rapid transit BRT system along Mile 12 to Ikorodu Town Corridor is gradually coming alive as works intensify on the construction of supporting infrastructure such as footbridges, bus terminals, and bus shelters towards the delivery of the project as scheduled. The erection of this road furniture will complement the operation of the BRT system when completed. They will also ensure the safety of commuters and other road users, as well as enhance the effective use of the road on commissioning. Presently, the footbridge construction has started to take its full shape along Majidun, Aruna, and Agric, having the beams lifted to accommodate and support the stairs. The foundation of bus shelters, which will be sited at Mile 12, Owode-Oneri, Aruna, Majidun, Ogolonto, Agric, and Irawo, have all been laid. The management of Lamata appeals to all road users along the axis to be observant, pay attention, and exercise more patience when commuting along the construction zone. And that ends the news update.
Basically, what Lamata does is to coordinate public transportation in Lagos State, and we came up with a transport master plan.
Developed together with the World Bank, the objective of this plan is finding long-lasting solutions for the problem of transportation in Lagos. Currently under its first steps of development, the plan has already proven itself a big success, dramatically increasing the connectivity in a city in continuous expansion and enjoying an unparalleled demographic and economic growth.
Our responsibility is to ensure that we provide the necessary infrastructure to meet the growth, to improve the quality of life, to improve the standard of living, and to make Lagos a vibrant and livable city in years to come.
Lamata, think transport.
Thank you for staying tuned. Every time you use public transportation, it is important for you to note that the roads, the traffic laws, the transportation system are all products of architectural and surveying geniuses, understanding of human psychology, and a mastery of how a city's transportation system can best serve its population.
It's no easy task, but a very possible one to accomplish, as you have seen through the Lagos State Government's response to our transportation needs through Lamata. And it all starts with raising sound minds, transport professionals whose job is to make your trip from point A to point B safe, comfortable, and delightful.
Lagos State already has great minds behind its transportation innovations, but there is still space for more.
Exactly.
So how do we raise them? Engineer Gbenga Dairo, the Director of Public Transport, Lamata, is here to discuss raising transport professionals, the challenges and opportunities before this goal. Hello, Engineer Dairo. Good to have you here again.
My pleasure. How are you?
I'm fine.
Excellent.
Well, public transport is a sector of the economy that is very vital, and city administrators in Nigeria have not paid serious attention to it. Yet, it is very important to the growth of any economy. Why is this so?
I think it is fair to say that not only in countries like Nigeria, but in developing countries, usually there's a focus on empowering individuals to own their own modes of transportation. So people aspire to own a vehicle. You started with a bicycle perhaps in the 40s and 50s when in the times of our grandparents. Then you aspire to own a motorcycle, eventually you aspire to own a car, and then the development of a government really has always been to try and put together an environment where individuals could fulfill that aspiration. It is only now that we are seeing an overwhelming numbers of vehicles on our roads, with road infrastructure not being able to cope with the numbers of cars on those roads, that the issue of public transportation is becoming extremely important and critical.
Okay, but then looking at the manpower, how adequate is the available manpower in taking Lagos State in view and Nigeria as a nation?
Well, now that we are where we are, overwhelmed with informal public transportation, especially in Lagos, I think it is fair to say that we do not yet have the right skill sets. People with the right skill sets will begin now to manage the planning, operationalization, and implementation of public transportation in our cities.
Is it a question of training or schooling?
Well, I think it's a question of the fact that transport is a sector where every one of us individually has a part to play in. So you drive from home to work, you walk from one place to the other, so you believe you are some kind of an expert in that area. And therefore it's difficult for people to realize and understand that actually you need to be professional if you really want to provide a decent, effective and efficient public transport system in a city like Lagos. But that knowledge, that realization is now beginning to come through. Certainly with the establishment of Lamata, with a very, very strong focus on professionalism. Okay. Now it's been understood that if you really want to get it right, you need to get the right people with the right know-how, who have the right skill sets involved in this particular sector.
So have we started this process?
The process has started, as I said, with the establishment of an organization like Lamata, where as an organization we insist on having those who have formal training in transportation, people who have a track record of working and experience in that particular sector, people who have done it elsewhere and have done it well. They're involved in what we're doing. And other agencies also within Lagos State that has a part to play in transportation are also following suit.
Okay.
So, given the high level of deficits in terms of professionals in this sector, how has this impacted the growth and performance of the transportation sector?
When you look at transportation, by the way, I mean, there are various levels of skills and professionals that are required in that sector. ranging from drivers, those who maintain the vehicles, those who plan the public transportation systems, those who execute the plans, those who implement the infrastructure. So there's a whole range of activities where you require strong professionals to be involved in them. If you look at Lagos today, the preponderance of public transportation is operated informally. I think it is fair to say that those who operate them would not necessarily be regarded as formal professionals. We also see it in other parts of our economy, whether it's building, where we find all sorts of people getting involved in activities for which they are actually not very well trained to do. And all of that must change, not only in transport, but across the board. But specifically in transport now, with our establishment, our Lamata establishment, there's a strong focus now on bringing professionalism into play. Only 2 or 3 weeks ago, His Excellency the Governor, in fact, indicated that we ought to be putting together a special academy that will now begin to train professionals who will work in the railway industry in Lagos, which is an emerging sector or subsector of the transport area. So there's a strong focus and interest in it. There is a deficit, but that is recognized, and some actions are being taken to try and close that gap.
I'm happy you affirm that there is a deficit and it's been recognized.
Yeah, and again, Lamata has already set the pace in terms of professionalism in the transport sector.
Sure.
And now you want to start up an academy for the young people, and I'm sure our audience are listening to, and our viewers at home. So anybody that is interested can as well join.
Absolutely.
But then how were you able to manage the challenges that you faced?
In terms of?
The deficit we are talking about.
Oh, well, with the academy I referred to, as you're probably aware, we're putting together, or we're developing a metro system in Lagos, a rail metro system. Okay. It's in the implementation stage now, and very soon we shall start operating. We don't want to wait until we start operating before we have those who have the right skills to be able to work on that particular project, and that is what the academy is going to focus on. There's a model, there's a blueprint we're working to. The course, the Lagos Electricity Board already has a similar academy which has been put together to address the same deficit, but in the power sector. So we're going to borrow from that and use that to prepare ourselves for the railway industry that is emerging in Lagos. Okay. As far as the other forms of transportation are concerned, buses in particular, we've been involved in that now since 2008 with our BRT scheme. And we have focused a lot on training there. In fact, it was at the beginning of the introduction of BRT that a School of Transportation was established at the Lagos State University. And again, that is the effort the government itself is taking in collaboration with the industry and also with the university to go and bring together professionals within this sector.
Well, I'm glad you talked about Transport Academy, and you also mentioned Lagos State University as a referral. And we also know that in Lagos, this same university are recognizing the importance and place of transport professionals, had established a transport school to make it easier to take a course in transport studies. Now, as a tested public transport professional who has had more than 2 decades of experience in Europe, Africa, what is your take about the school? And how will this impact the subsector?
Well, the university is one that has been growing, I have to say, in collaboration even with Lamata. Why? Because a number of their students have been with us on industrial training, students attachment, and we've been playing that part in development of that School of Transport at LASU. And beyond that, a number of us at Lamata are also shall we say, guest lecturers at LASU, myself as well being one of them. So we do teach the students from time to time. And it's important that the school has recognized the fact that it needs to work with practitioners in the industry in addition to the academic knowledge being imparted on those students. So I see strong growth and performance at LASU, at that School of Transport in LASU. Again, as I said, 1 or 2 of them have been working with us. Every time they're doing an NYSC, student attachment, industrial training, we get students from that school with us. So we learn from them as well in terms of what we believe is needed to improve the level of education at LASU, and we share those with the academic students, teachers at LASU as well. So there's a strong collaboration between ourselves and LASU And I think that will continue.
To really also impact on the subsector.
Absolutely.
Well, we'll take a break here quickly. We'll be back after this time out. We thank you for staying with us. It's still Lamata F4.
You're welcome back. We still have Engineer Gbenga Dairo, the Director of Public Transport, Lamata, discussing with us raising transport professionals, the challenges and opportunities before this goal. Okay, beyond the School of Transport, what else do you think that the government and stakeholders can do to improve capacity and competencies in this subsector we're talking about?
Well, all the strong things that can be done is to try and enforce perhaps existing laws and regulations of the land. To ensure that if you want to practice, for example, as a mechanic, you have some level of recognized qualification that enables you to do so. If you want to practice as a bus operator, you are licensed. You've gone through some kind of formal training, which the state is now doing by insisting that the operators must attend the driving institute established by the state government. So if all of these practices and measures are enforced, then we will begin to bring professionalism into the sector. Where you get what we may call cowboys involved in transport is when there isn't an enforcement of regulations. If anybody turns up one morning and begins to drive a bus or begins to claim that he has the expertise and the knowledge to service vehicles without some form of regulation, then you get the kind of system perhaps we're trying to move away from now.
In the face of what we see, even in the midst of the paucity of professionals, what opportunities do you think are there currently to improve public transportation in the state?
Well, there are several ways to improve public transport in the state. As an organization, I'm sure you're aware of the infrastructure we're putting in place, the strategic plan we have for Lagos over the next 20 years and thereabouts. So there's a plan, there's a vision. That's the first starting point. But to realize that vision, you need resources, and resources include manpower resources as well as financial resources. You need people who can do all the various things that needs to be done to enable that vision to become a reality. As I said at the beginning, transport involves planning, so you need the right planners. It involves drivers, you need the right drivers, whatever the case may be. You need to execute projects, so you need artisans who have the right skills. You need builders who can build things that are also involved in transportation. You need those who can service the vehicles. So a whole range of skills are required going forward.
The challenge now is promotion. How do we promote it? How do we make it loud for the government to know about this, for the people, the stakeholders, the private investors, for them to know the need for us to raise transport professionals and also to promote the need for public transport system in Nigeria?
Well, I think it is fair to say that the government already is aware of this, so I don't think there's a need for us to go and try and make any or advocate or sell this particular idea to the government. You know, by me being here talking to you, I think it's a recognition of the fact that this matter is recognized and something is being done about it. Like most things, they're usually driven by market forces and demand. So if you find a sector that is growing and job opportunities are arising there, and people are feeling that if I move in this area from my own personal point of view, I'll be able to enjoy a good earnings, good quality of life, then people begin to gravitate in that particular sector. It's now up to the sector itself to screen those who are coming in to make sure they have the right background and they have motivation and interest in what it is they're coming into. Okay. That's all. But the public transport sector in Lagos is growing. There's no question about that.
Evidently.
The BRT is a good starting point. We're extending to Ikorodu. We're putting a rail thing in. The water transportation sector is growing and blossoming. So there are people who are now changing from one particular type of profession, perhaps where they were before, and they are moving into transport.
So people are now also engaged in it now to be involved in it.
A lot of people are engaged, yes. You will find that a lot of people who studied as engineers, who studied as perhaps even geographers, who studied the basic sciences, all of these kind of people are retraining, undergoing master's qualifications in transport management, transport operations, because they see the growth in that sector and they see opportunities clearly for themselves.
This is Lamata F4 if you're just joining us. Shortly after the break, we'll take questions, comments, and suggestions. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. We've been discussing the need to raise transport professionals, the challenges and opportunities, and we have with us Engineer Gbenga Dairo, the Director of Public Transport, Lamata. And it's time now to hear from our lovely audience. We've heard from the experts. It's now time for you to say your mind Tell us what you think about the topic.
I will want to know if it's possible to train all the downfall drivers, that it will be to the extent that without a paper to show that you've been to that professional training school, you are not allowed to drive on Lagos Road.
Well, the intention of government certainly is to make sure that anybody who drives a public transport vehicle on our road goes through formal training, which is why the Driving Institute has been established and they have training centers across Lagos. Now there are so many downfall drivers. So the training itself is being done in stages. Before your operating license can be renewed, you are required to have gone through that particular training. So it will happen over a course of time. It will happen overnight, but it's a gradual process, and every one of them is being required to go through that training. And it's a training that gives you a license for a very short period, requiring you to renew that to ensure that you are being retrained also from time to time.
I'd like to ask, is it possible for me as a youth to be part of the training academy?
Well, yes, it will be open to all who are qualified. The fact remains that the academy itself would have a determined number of places, and those who would want to take part in it would have to go through a screening process, as I said earlier, to determine whether you have the right training, right background, and the right motivations and so on to benefit from such training. But it will be open to all and sundry, insofar as you're able to qualify and meet the criteria for selection.
You're welcome back. We've had a detailed discussion with the Director of Public Transport, Lamata, Engineer Gbenga Dairu. Thank you very much for being a part of the show.
It was my pleasure.
So what would be your parting shots to our viewers and our stakeholders?
Well, we would like to assure our viewers and indeed our studio audience that Lamata as an institution remains committed to keeping Lagos moving, including ensuring that we have the right people, the right professionals involved in this very important transport sector.
Well, it's been delightful having you. Thank you so very much one more time.
My pleasure.
More to come after the break. If you were unable to join us in the studio but have questions, comments and suggestions on today's topic or on any of the matter concerning the matter, please reach us on any of the following. Here is a takeout from today's show. Great transport professionals have laid great foundations in Lagos, but the good work must continue with new generation of young, fresh geniuses. If that's you, you know where to find us.
On the other hand, your partnership with us at Lamata in making transport work for us in Lagos State already makes you a transport professional. Theodore Redka once said, "What we need are more people who specialize in the impossible." So, keep working with us to make us serve you better, and together we'll accomplish that transportation system in Lagos that the world will learn from.
Every member of our audience will go home with a loaded Lagos Connect card today. Lamata.
Think Transport! Eko Akete, Lagos, my home. With Lamata, Lagos is changing for the best. BRT lanes, modern rail.